Welcome back to the channel. I am Commander Tyrael, and this is Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail. It feels like a long time since we were fighting the Spanish in the waters of the Caribbean and fighting the War of Independence. Now we are firmly entrenched in the strife in Europe. Today's video sees us come to Corsica. In 1793, the spirit of Corsican unrest against the occupying French forces kindled into open rebellion. The mass uprising has driven the French garrison into the fortified port towns of the northern coast. The Corsican irregulars have not been able to make progress against the fortified French positions and have requested our assistance. 11th of April 1794, our navy has started a series of operations against the French in Corsica. The port of San Florenzo has already been captured, but we've been suffering heavy losses. We need fresh troops to attack the city of Bastia. The city is well protected from the sea, and it has been decided to attack by land instead. Bastia is surrounded by several hills, and most of them are topped with forts. However, it seems that most of the defences in the north are weaker, so we will land nearby and advance on the city from that direction. Pretty straightforward mission, we just need to assign as many troops as possible. Captain, our units have taken up their position and are awaiting your order. The French have brought every available man and piece of artillery to this ridge, as well as this fort and its surroundings. We need to capture at least one of these two positions and open a clear path to Bastia. Let's get to it. We're going to form up our divisions as we normally do. This eliminates the micro needed. Got a nice mix of troops this time: Marines, Grenadiers, some mortars, and a supply wagon. Not much has changed in our troop composition, with the exception of adding more Grenadiers over Fusiliers. So we'll try and form up the last of these divisions, and then we will get underway. And thus we make our advance up towards this crossing up here. I think we're going to make a crossing here at the waterfront. Speed it up a little bit. We'll send up in line after line. We have them in 5 different groups. And I'm feeling adventurous, so I'm going to try and take both of these positions. Every time we've fought the French, they have been quite a difficult fight, mainly due to their morale and numbers. Their weapons are fairly good. Charleville rifle that they use. We haven't had any sign of skirmishers or scouting forces at this stage. No doubt once we crest the top of this hill we may see some action. Got a few units running along the river just to make sure we aren't going to run into a cannonade or similar ambush. The briefing said that they brought all of their available cannons to these areas, so I have to be mindful. I don't yet have the ability to recruit cavalry. The cavalry force would have been useful for scouting in this mission. No sign of anyone at the river crossing. Suitable for fast movement, sight and accuracy. Okay, let's go. We'll send a Group 1 across the river. One and 2, sorry, will move up the ridge line, and I think it's 3 will cross over the main waterfront. These guys look like they may have the hardest fight. We'll detach some skirmishers and I'll send them off, so we have at least some eyes on. We've taken fire from cannon. There's a fortification there up on that ridge. I need to get these skirmishers over. I don't have much in the way of artillery, so I can't really reply. We just have to bum rush them. Our largest units are now about to cross the river. We have a 300-man Fusilier unit, 200-man Grenadier unit. So 400 grenadiers and 300 fusiliers. Making contact with the first of the French skirmishers at the foot of the hill. Despite taking cannon shot, we haven't seen any other French forces over here yet. I am wondering if that cannon was supposed to be facing the other way, towards the hill, guarding that approach. And now we've sort of foiled that plan maybe. We have some skirmishers there on the riverside. Not sure how they snuck around there. Okay, now we have contact. These guys are fairly entrenched up on the hill. We are at a disadvantage. We'll send 2 units up to face them directly. We have even amount of units, but there is a skirmisher unit that is larger than ours. Got a final unit of fusiliers crossing the river. We'll try and bring them around the flank and force our way up past those chasseurs towards the cannon. We'll redirect those grenadiers to put some pressure on the guys on the hillside. They definitely have a heightened positioning advantage. They have fortifications, so we need to just push up. We'll get the second wave ready and also try and bring up some supplies and ammunition. Supplies will probably be our biggest factor in this mission. I only have 1 supply wagon. And we have a lot of infantry, as well as the mortars to supply. These guys particularly are at risk of running out of ammunition. If they have to fight more than this, we may be in trouble over here. We seem to be holding the fight okay. They do have a positioning advantage. They have cover as well, and we are on the open road. Trying to push this other grenadier unit round as well as their detached skirmishers. But the French skirmishers do not want a direct engagement with us. They are playing very smart. Meanwhile, on the hilltop, our infantry are slowly making their way up. They're whittling the numbers of the defenders on the walls quite effectively. They have 1 cannon that is shooting down. We've got to walk up this very steep hill, which will drain our stamina somewhat. We are a little bit weaker on this side, so I need to use the left flank to push a bit harder. One of our grenadiers units has taken 25% losses, which is not ideal. We are charging that front now, trying to breach through that fortification. The attack on this hilltop seems to be at an impasse, and we are wavering as we are in open country and we're taking a fair bit of fire. We have lost 63 men, 70 men now, and they've now broken. This is not ideal. We don't have a lot of support there. We can't afford to have units wavering and breaking. Coming back to the other side, the artillery on the hilltop has shattered, which is very useful for us. Get them out of the fight and get these guys up the hill and in melee. I think that'll be the deciding factor in this initial engagement here. We need to get them off their entrenched positions. They are now routing. I'm going to push some units around to try and help with that advance. And we'll push all units up towards these grenadiers. This attack is actually really faltering, and I should have sent more support. Our fusiliers have reformed. We need to charge that position and get over the hilltop. Probably going to have to charge in the face of danger here, push up into some cover perhaps. Our grenadiers are being flanked as they're engaged with the skirmishers from behind. We've got these fusiliers have reformed. We have to run them back up the road. They need to get re-engaged so that our grenadiers can change targets. Our fusiliers have faltered in their charge. Alright, that wing is collapsing. That advance is really stalling, and we were a little bit too adventurous. And now we are being flanked by that uncontested chasseurs unit, which is fortunately running back up to their fortifications. Relying solely on the infantry, I don't have any artillery to assist at this stage. We are taking fire from some other form of artillery, I can't tell where from. Perhaps that ridgeline opposite the river. While we are whittling down these French units in the forest, they are doing more damage to us. We've had a wounded officer, cadet officer. We're sending some reinforcements back to that side to at least stabilize that. Pushing up over the hill, and we can now see there are a lot of units on the hilltop. We've got no choice but just to get straight into hand-to-hand. Our advance is sort of stalled into two fronts. Our reinforcements to this wing are coming, but they may be too late. I've redirected the mortars to assist on this wing, but I feel like we might stumble here. We've at least lost that advance force. Disappointing results. But at least if we can break through there, we could perhaps push down the river, head up past those breachworks there, and meet the main force at that second river crossing, rather than taking the fort. We can repurpose that plan. You see, look, there's a supply wagon there. Enemy supply wagon. We definitely need those. That's a priority target. Target of opportunity sighted. Reinforcements are about to make the river crossing. It looks like we've managed to hold them off. They've either retreated or we've managed to push them back. Yeah, they did retreat just through morale damage. But our 800-man strong force that initially crossed that river is a shadow of its former self. Just goes to show that positioning and terrain play a major part in engagements. One of our grenadiers unit that we charged through is faltering, and he's running back through the lines. The French fire is a little bit too much for them to handle. Just going to have to keep pushing, boys. We're going to form up some of our damaged units into larger divisions to assist. Oh, we're out of ammunition. The grenadiers are out of ammunition. They're facing a small unit of chasseurs and the supply wagon. So we're going into bayonet mode. Have to bayonet these men in the river. That's a shocking way to go. Poison the river for months if they don't clean those out. That smaller unit has disengaged. Another one has formed up across. They don't want us to take those supplies, but there's not much they can do about it at this point. We need the powder. Meanwhile, back on the hill, things are looking okay. The French are very resilient in the land forces. They have excellent infantry. They are pushing some extra men around the top of the hill here to try perhaps get better angle on us. We have supplies moving up the hill ponderously slow. We have taken control of one of the French cannon. Reinforcements on this side of the battlefield are looking to be ready for combat. Grenadiers are engaged with the supply wagons. On a guard, I guess you could say. We've now taken control of that. We do lose some of our infantry to take control, but now we are restocking. Fusiliers push around, try and get a flanking action on these chasseurs that are trying to defend the hill. There are a lot of French infantry there, and unfortunately I had to repurpose my mortars to the other side, and that was probably a unwise move. This division is pinned on two sides. We're just going to charge past the enemy and try and fill that gap with another division. The French have now turned their backs to the front line in an attempt to take advantage of our first charge and now are subject to a second charge. First charge did fail, but it was a feint. We're going to replace those routing men with a fresh division. This grenadier unit has restocked their ammunition. Our reinforcements have pushed up to the hill and now are able to take stock of this artillery that's been peppering our men on that hilltop across the river. Our Fusilier unit has run out of ammo, so it's all bayonets. We'll go and assist them with a division that actually has ammunition. We've found a second supply wagon and we've now taken control of a second cannon. So the French are well supplied in comparison to us. This attack up here is not looking good. We are losing a lot of men in this engagement. Splitting our forces probably was not wise. The side effect is that now we have access to more artillery and some extra supplies for later on in the mission, which was going to be our main concern. Some more grenadiers, the final grenadiers from those initial defenders. They killed a lot of our men. We do not have the same kill ratios that we had in the previous missions. It's about 1-to-1 on a lot of our units. Sometimes less than 1. Our mortars have been a liability. They are now stuck well back behind both front lines. We seem to be breaking them down a little bit at a time. They are giving us even match though. Definitely not a steamroll this match. All of our units over here are running desperately low on ammunition, and I did see a supply wagon. There he is. Grab him up. Now we need to get some shot distributed straight to the men. We've got an artillery crew as prisoner of war. We need to get this supply wagon and its complement up the hill. Start using the French powder and shot against them. And here we go. We've got our first cannon shots up the hill. They won't be so effective because they have a height advantage. We need to push a lot more men up this hill. Oh, this division's run completely dry on ammunition. We need to counter that and get them out of there. Retreat double quick. It's not ideal to turn your back to the enemy, but when you've got no guns, you may as well run. We are outmatched on that engagement there. Oh, the artillery is shooting back into the rear of our own soldiers. I'm confident the morale of our men will hold in the long run. It's just the fact that I've got no weapons to give them. So we've got our supply wagon finally making its way up the hill. Future missions, I need to make sure I have my supplies ready with me. Move slower maybe. Advance slower. Playing a lot of modern strategy games, I'm often used to infantry doing a lot more work, a lot faster. This is a much more realistic pace, but it really keeps you active. I mean, I'm really still thinking. You've got to think a few minutes ahead to think about where your lines are going to be and what they're going to do. Just need to engage every single unit. Supplies should be in radius. We're distributing shot to some of the units that are not engaged. We have a lot of guys that are running low. The French have the benefit of sitting in their own supply cache at the top of the hill here. Once we take that, I'm confident we'll be able to get some shot into these guns. There we go. Push up, push up, push up. We need to take that supply dump. There we go. And so our troops will slowly resupply. And we need to just really capitalize on that and push them right back. So there's no hope of them recapturing that fort. There we go, we've captured the ridge. Captain, the French lines are in chaos and they are retreating to the city. We must take advantage of this initial victory and pursue them. Now, I've just spent an extra 10 minutes supplying everyone, getting everyone ready for battle because we are very short on men, and this time I've repurposed all of the French guns that I could find, and we're going to just sit here and lure them out. Going to detach some skirmishers. We've got an extra flanking force coming around up the river. They should arrive as I'm drawing out the enemy from the town. Everyone is fully stocked. We have all of the French supply wagons. I waited up on the ridge until the supply wagons were full from the supply cache that were there. We're going to set up a double line here and detach some skirmishers, and we're going to get them to spot for our artillery batteries that are across the river here. You can see the line of sight that they have. Now, I need to find a position where they are hidden, but yet can still see everything. And once they are able to spot everything in the town, we should be able to just hammer them. So we'll keep it on fast speed. Look at that. French cannons. Thank you very much. We're slightly elevated too, so we can shoot over the top of our troops. And the plan is, oh, there's some dragoons there, I've got to be careful. The plan is to keep these spotters here as long as possible, while we wait for our reinforcement wing to head up the main road. And my hope is to funnel as many of the French out of the town into my kill zone as I can before we push into the town. Well, they're getting a bit low on men. They shouldn't be in the front line. We'll pull them back and replace them with a larger division. And so those guys are coming around the farmhouse and just saying, what? Yes. I haven't had much opportunity to use artillery myself, so let's see how we go. I'm not sure how big these guns are. They're probably 4-pounder guns. We've got 2 units sitting here now, just taking a hammering. Got a supply wagon moving across the river in anticipation of running out of powder on the front line here. I don't want to make the same mistake I made and run out of shot. So logistics will be re-examined in further land battles. There we go. These guys are breaking under the sheer weight of firepower. Get these guys to kneel in their first rank. Reinforcements have arrived from down the river. And so now we'll start putting pressure on them and create a flanking maneuver. Pushing forward a little bit to meet them. These guys look like they're charging, so we're counter-charging. Because we don't want our cannons to be shooting into the main formation. I'd rather them shoot at one of our units. Oh, we've had a full surrender. Perhaps that was part of the plan. Make it look like we're charging, but we're actually giving up. So we don't get shot by our own commanders. Lots of pressure on this wing. We're in a much better state now than previously as we tried to fight up the ridge. Goes to show what a little bit of pre-planning can achieve. Mortars are raining fire down on these guys in the cover. And so I think we've done enough to shatter their morale. Now's time to start pressing our advantage. I mean, we could sit there all day and try and lure them back and forward, but that's pretty gamey. We want to fight it like a real man. Alright, we'll push a flanking force up around the edge here. I did lose my skirmishers because I didn't pay attention to them. But they did achieve their role and their sacrifice will be remembered. Supply wagon here manned by a unit of grenadiers. As I said, we are running short on manpower, so everybody here on a cannon has been repurposed. They're not real artillerymen, with the exception of our mortar team. We have encircled this entrance to the town. And the operation is looking to be a resounding success. We have a few units of prisoners of war. You can see from that supply depot we got it down to 59% because we just drained it dry. We used a lot of supplies in that assault. And we were fortunate enough to capture those 2 supply wagons. And we still have our own regiment of supply as well, but they are just on foot. Divisions are looking healthy, wealthy, and wise. So our artillery battery has moved across the river, the most treacherous part of their journey. But there doesn't look to be any threats that can contest that. We have another artillery unit, very close range, so we'll charge them. More cannon for His Majesty. Extra divisions. A nice, healthy prisoner train out the back there. And probably more to come. The cannon really did a work on their morale, which can save lots of lives on both sides. We have another surrender. The artillery unit has shattered and capitulated to our control. It looks like an artillery unit, but without their artillery piece. Oh, we've taken them. We've taken the guns with 237 men. That's not very wise. We'll just fight them normally, I think. "237 men would do way more work than 2 or 3 cannon at that range." The town is slowly turning red. There isn't much more the French can do. The bulk of their defense was thrown away at the entrance to the town when they met our brutal cannon fusillades. The flanking force is pushing their way into the town. We have a nice V-shaped line going. Slowly close the pincer. Moving up infantry to fill the gaps and put more pressure and assist with these charges that we're going to do. Melee has been the decisive factor in this battle. The grim determination of the Redcoats in hand-to-hand combat with their French enemy. Not a very pleasant way to fight, live or die, I can tell you that. On the end of a pike or a sword bayonet. We certainly live in good times, that's for sure. Although that, I guess, is relative as well. Nonetheless, I digress. We have almost taken out the rest of the French. Another solid victory for His Majesty. Assisting to keep the spirit of monarchy alive. None of this Republican stuff. Although I am sure my opinions will change when I start playing the American campaign. But for now, we are firmly on the side of the British flag. Well, I guess you could say that this mission is over, and I will clean up the town, and I'll see you at the victory screen. I didn't have much else to do today, so I scoured the map clean of the French, and I even came back and took their other fort, and we had victory. Now, we did lose a fair amount of men. We nearly lost 2,000 men, but it's still a victory for the British flag, and unfortunately, the men can be replaced. What can't be replaced are our ships. And that you'll see more of in the next episode. The French have lost another strategic location and our relations with the Corsicans are better than ever. Speaking of relations, if you'd like to be my friend, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and tell me what you're enjoying most about this series. Certainly, I will have another one in the works very soon, and it looks like we're going to be fighting the French until the bitter end. Until the next episode, Commander Tyrael, out.